Hi everyone, it's Joe here from Lawn Solutions Australia and welcome to this episode of Turf Talk, where I'm joined by the General Manager of TurfCo, Marcus Rogers, who is also my elder brother, which is fun. Marcus, welcome.
Thank you.
So, okay, very brief. So just tell us a little bit about, we won't start with you because, I mean, people will care, but let's start with TurfCo. You want to tell everyone a little bit about TurfCo, where they're situated as a business, how long they've been around, what they do, where they service, that kind of stuff. Can you do that for us, please?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's coming up to 1987. I think it started later on that, early 88. And it was always I suppose TurfCo probably started on the verge of where it went from uncultivated to cultivated turf. Like the old man started with a spade, cutting turf off the back of his uncle's, the golf course where his uncle was helping out at, and then it progressed from there. He might have moved to bush rocks and done a few other weird jobs in between it all. And then the farm officially started in the late 80s and probably didn't start straight away with the spade cut turf where the industry probably was. I think, I could be corrected here, but Ryan's is probably early on where it started. Ryan Harvester's progressed from there. I think when that really basic level of automation started, I think cultivated turf became a bit more of a thing, and it went from Kikuyu, and then early 90s, mid 90s buffaloes, and that started and went from there. And TurfCo's always been a heavily domestic business. To this day it still is, which is great. It means we get a wide range of different people we deal with every day, other than others that may suit them doing commercial stuff, but it's really nice getting a whole heap of different and recurring customers. We had one the other day that got turf around the corner from us 20-something years ago. It was on our social media. I should have checked this. And then they were a repeat customer again, which is a 25-year gap, but they still had that good rapport from our business back then to repurchase. So stuff like that.
They had photos from the day it got delivered.
They had photos from the day it got delivered. There was no trees. They're all, I don't know, tall trees. I don't know how tall trees are. Turf farmer, not an arborist. But they to see that come back with little effort, I suppose, indirectly from our end was pretty cool. So customer focus back then was obviously a high priority. Still is now, and probably half what we do now is mum and dad's markets. The rest of it's split between councils and on-sellers of our product, whether it's landscape stores or Bunnings yards, and we go from Helensburgh at the top of Wollongong, right nearly down to the Vic border at Bega, and then we'll head out to the Southern Highlands and Canberra, Goulburn areas a couple of times a week.
And so the farm itself is located in a small town called Berry. It's about 2 hours south of Sydney. So Berry's a pretty unique place to be a turf farm. It has a lot of advantages and it has a lot of disadvantages as well. But let's start with what makes it challenging to grow turf in a location like this.
We live in the best part of the world, which is great from our point of view. But from an agronomy standpoint and growing grass, we're fortunate to get really good weather, i.e. lots of rain. But what does hurt us is we quite often can get too much rain, and our water source is a lot more limited to other people. Other turf farmers get quite a shock when they come to our place because there's not a big flowing river next to our farm. There's small dams and a piddly little creek at one of them, and we essentially dryland farm probably more than half of what we do, which is relying on Mother Nature to grow grass. So our crop turnover can be a bit more extended than others, but it's just what we live with, and we've learnt to deal with that the last nearly 40 years.
You've made a couple of changes just in the last couple of years in terms of, I guess, what we're talking about there is irrigation can be difficult because, like you said, you've got to wait for it to rain a lot of the times, particularly if you want to fertilise, if you want to spray certain chemicals, you've got to wait for it to rain. But you have changed that a little bit lately. You've put some pop-up irrigation in the farm. That's made a big difference for you?
For sure. So a lot of our irrigation is portable, nothing fixed, no different to just a bigger scale of moving a sprinkler around a backyard. But we never entertained permanent irrigation because water was so limited, but they come to a point where a bit of, I suppose, cost analysis from our end of labour, moving portable resources and time and inefficiencies with that. So an irrigator that we had to travel up the paddock would take 10 to 12 hours a run. Now pop-ups can wind that or make that 4 times as fast even. So we've put that over half of one of the farms, and it's not only saved a lot in time of moving things, but a lot of the time when you're irrigating, it's on weekends and you get bored of moving sprinklers, you'd rather press buttons.
Yeah, fair enough. And how big's the farm for context? How much turf production?
I think we've got a few fluctuations with paddock changes and land at the moment. I think it's about 150 acres.
So
scratch under.
Dragging a sprinkler around on a weekend over 150 acres can get a little bit tiring.
You get over.
Imagine. So the other challenge that the farm faces here, I guess, is historically most turf farms are dead flat. That's the beauty of them. They're riverbanks, river flats. They're out in the country. TurfCo's not quite like that.
No, I probably should have scratched on that before. So we're on a hill, and being a dryland farm, we probably couldn't dryland farm on that one if it was flat, because being on the hill, we get quite a good catchment. So we've got big drains around the farm that all lead into one dam. When that overfills, we're able to transfer it into a dam up the top, which is actually an old shale quarry, and again gets dry. We move from top down to bottom, and that really works well with us. When it rains, we get a lot of water caught on our farm thanks to Mother Nature, but we did have some problems with wet ground with lots of underground springs, which is we have them, other farms have them as well. But last year we were able to tap into that. We put about 7 kilometres of underground ag drainage in there, and that's let us reuse more water that would other just
makes
sit
a
in the
big
ground
difference.
and make
It starts at rain.
big time.
Yeah. And I guess one of the positives of being where we are, so we're about, I think it's about 8 Ks as a crow flies to the coast, 6 or 8 Ks or something like that. So it's a pretty mild climate. I guess frost and winter damage isn't a big thing where we are here.
No, like in a mild year, we can get away with 2 pretty good frosts. In a bad one, it can be a bit over 10. But being on the hill, not all of our land is. I think we range from about 7 metres or 10 metres above sea level to 65, 70. So you'll end up obviously trying to harvest certain paddocks at certain time of years to cater around the hot and cold weather, but we're pretty good with frost. We can go, some of our farms can go throughout winter without losing a lot of colour.
Any colour at all. And crop-wise, what kind of grasses are you growing here?
5 different types at the moment. We've got Eureka Kikuyu, which was always a staple for us. It used to be about half of what we sell. It's reduced quite a bit now with the new improved turf varieties. Sir Walter's still a big favourite of ours, our DNA certified from a farm point and a customer point. And then more recently, we've been on board with Sir Grange Zoysia, Tiv Tuff Hybrid Bermuda, which are doing really good things. And then in the last few months, we were able to finish off our new paddock of Zoysia australis and start selling it to the customer base. And we still do have a little bit left, but it will go soon. And so far, it's been nothing but positivity.
Let's touch on just australis for a sec. We're going to get into the stuff we're here to talk about. But australis, for those that don't know, it's a new type of Zoysia japonica. So you've heard of Sir Grange Zoysia before. 2 totally different grasses. Matrellas like Sir Grange are quite fine and quite slow, where japonicas like australis are more coarse and more aggressive. So I drive past it all the time. It looks great. You've had pretty good feedback from customers so far.
Really good feedback. We're actually quite cautious when we release it to market, because from a fortunate point of view, when we released Sir Grange and Tiv Tuff 2019, 18, 17-ish, thereabouts, we probably didn't explain it to customers as well as we should have. And we had a few instances where our whole motto behind what we do always has been, always will be, is make sure the right grasses are going into the right area. And we probably didn't do as good of a job as that if we could. Yeah. So when australis come out, we made sure that we're really cautious of where it were going, asking people lots of questions of where it was to go. In one instance, somebody wanted australis and we actually wouldn't sell it to them because another grass was a better option for them. So far we've had a really good rate, really good response with every australis order we've had. But part of that's too, there's the girls in the office have done a really good job making sure the customers get what they want.
It's a good point you're making. I think it's something that resonates nationally when we first release these grasses. People don't understand when we release these grasses, we know a lot about them to the point of when they actually go to the homeowner. So we don't know what it's like 5 years in a backyard with shade and kids and pets and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of learning, and you'll notice the stuff we say about Tiv Tuff and Sir Grange was totally different to the stuff that we said about when we first released them. So I think australis, the way we see australis at the moment is pretty much you'd give it to the customer that it takes Sir Walter. Sir Walter DNA. I think just an everyday sort of front and back lawn. That's how you kind of see it, I guess. Yeah,
we do probably 50% actually. A little bit different at times. We do lots of work in parkland stuff around playgrounds and council areas that aren't sports fields. And we're traditionally a heavy kikuyu market here. And I see australis being a bit more like looks into kikuyu sometimes than the other grasses. And I see it's an easy choice for councils and alikes to put into public spaces like that, because Ware's really good with it. It looks good. It doesn't get knee high in 2 weeks this time of year like kikuyu does. And I think we see a lot of it there. But from a farming point of view, if a grass is easy to farm, it's usually easy in a backyard.
Yeah.
Australis has been really nice to farm and grow in, so I don't see you getting too many teething, selling, and customer issues is what we got with the other varieties, which is good. Nothing against the others, they're just fit for purpose and where you're putting it.
It's going to be interesting to see. And so that's a good overview of sort of the farm, the history of the business as well as the farm, where we're located, etc. But yourself, now, you mentioned before your old man, which is also by default my old man, started this business. I hope so anyway. Whoops. Started this business in the late...
Tell by the nose.
Yeah, no, stand out. In the late 80s. But tell us a little bit about what you've done in your life. I know turf's been a massive part of it. It's been a big part of all of ours. But you worked somewhere else for quite a period of time. So why don't you tell people sort of how your career's progressed?
For sure. I suppose, like most turf farmers, which are heavily family-based businesses, you find yourself at 12 and 13 at school holidays and doing a bit that way, working for a bit of pocket money, done that on and off, I suppose, since that age of 12 or 13, which was really good. And then school sort of finished and turf was doing a few different things. The old man, our dad, ended up investing in a boat shop, and I worked there from, 18 to 21, 22, and then started moving back to the farm on a part-time basis, and then went full-time, I think, around that 21 age, I think, and then have been here ever since, and it's good.
So the boat shop was a unique one. It was something that we, as a family, had
For
absolutely, like, we use boats, but that's where it sort of stopped. We had no idea about the boating business, but they went through a lot of changes in a short period of time. What was sort of some of the things you learned a lot? Because I guess from memory, you got thrown into the deep end.
Thrown into the deep end big time. It was a big, I suppose, interest of ours from a leisure point of view, which is really good. And we probably mixed business with leisure. I won't say pleasure because it's weird. And we took over, I suppose, a shop that was doing all right, but we wanted to take it different places. And that whole industry, GFC time and all that, probably didn't end up working out where it would have. The business didn't work like it would have. And we moved on from that. And I suppose being a part of a unsuccessful business, as black and white as it is, taught me a lot of what not to do, how to cope with certain situations. I think when stuff isn't going right, sort of blame gets shifted for different reasons on different people, and you start thinking it's boats or it's people or it's the business itself. And I think with all them changes, lots of changeover with people and workers, it built you up a fair bit of skill sets in what to do in times that aren't that crash hot, which was cool. Yeah, there's plenty of good times there too.
It was a tricky couple of years, just not just for the boat shop, but for everyone. The economy wasn't great at the time. It was sort of recovering, but you can tell who our parents love more. They sent Marcus to the crap job and to the good one. But anyway, I was actually working on the farm at the time. Then when you came back, and what was your sort of experiences when you came? Because you hadn't really seen the turf side of things other than laying turf in holidays and on the weekends and that. And then you kind of got thrust back into a sales position straight away. Yeah. What did you notice when you came back into a turf farm other than how good it was working with me?
I think the biggest thing swear then. I think the biggest thing to work on, to mention is that saying fake it till you make it. It was literally what happened. Like coming from a really hardcore selling role from the boat side of things and organising, I suppose, service work and that workshop, getting thrown from an indoors job straight to essentially an indoors job on a turf farm. And when you rock up with the last name of the bloke that started it, everyone assumes that you know what's going on. And from a kid that laid turf in high school and had zero attention of what was going on or care, Sir Walter and Cocky, you always look the same to me. So I sort of, you come in with everyone thinking you know what's going on, but you had no idea. But it was cool, just faked it until you sort of worked it out.
Well, you could always talk. So
yeah, I know, that was never a problem.
I think Mark's role initially was just go out and talk to people about grass and don't leave until they buy something, and you were good at it and it worked. So, but I guess then as you kind of, moved up the ranks in TurfCo, there was a lot of change internally at TurfCo over the last few years that's happened. So you've seen it all in some ways. But when you actually took over as general manager, what did you inherit, but what did you find were the limitations you were seeing at that time when you first took over?
Probably a lot from a communication point of view. So I know this gets touched on often, but we're the grower, we're the harvester, we're the distributor, and we're the seller. So they're moving parts to have a successful turf farm, have to talk really, really well between each other. And we're sort of not small enough to just have two people doing it and not big enough to have each people in their own sections, which I think in some respects with organisation and making sure everything works is a fair bit harder, sitting in that middle ground. So from a communication point of view, I think there was a bit of a disconnect between outside staff and the inside staff, and it ended up with human error for no one's fault other than the processes that they were working with and systems.
And this is a big thing to change. I know in turf businesses, like enough to travel around turf farms or in Australia, this is probably where more money is wasted than anywhere, is in that systems side of thing. And we had, if you want to listen to an episode about this as well, Scott Spedding from Coolabah Turf's really good on this as well.
I did listen to that.
You did listen to that?
Yes, I did.
Thanks for your support. But this is an area where not just turf businesses, but I imagine a lot of businesses would waste their money. So how did you start looking at something like this? Because I know what you're like, and I wouldn't say you're an IT man at all.
Not an IT guy.
Not an IT guy. So how do you start a process like this? Because it's an IT problem essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're always thinking long term with stuff like this because immediate fixes aren't the underlying issue here. At the time, we did also have some, I suppose, ownership management changes with some other shareholders and helpers out that were here, and then that led it into account stuff changing over, and we were using I think it was a clunky, pretty horrible system at the time. I won't name the brand. So it was at a really good point for us to say, let's change it. Let's change a whole lot. We changed point of sale system. We changed our CRM system. We changed basically everything from the ground up. We built that from the ground up, along with our website as well. And that took probably a year at the time to do it all. But our end goal was to have every part of our business talking to each other without talking to each other.
Yeah.
Without physically talking, I mean, which is really good. So now we have our you might want to touch on it more in a sec, we've got our selling team in the office, our harvesting team, our logistics team, and our farm team talk to each other without saying a word, which is awesome.
Let's paint the picture for the listener here. So I won't even say back in the day, I'll say 5 years ago, even when I was working there, when you were in sales, someone rings up to place an order. What happens?
You'd write down on a white docket and then your pen would run out, so you'd get another pen. And then once you'd done that, you'd put the order in the system. Once the order's in the system, you'd make a spreadsheet for the trucks the next day. Then you'd ring the bloke cutting turf and you'd tell him what order come in. Then the customer would ring up 10 minutes later and say, I don't want 100 metres, I now want 95. And then Scott would say, who was cutting, I'd already cut that turf. And then you'd have 5 rolls left over, and then the bloke in the truck coming back had drive to the wrong farm because we were cutting turf there yesterday, but that paddock finished, and then the phone was ringing when he was ringing the harvester guy, so we didn't know, and stuff like that. I think a lot of people will say, oh, what did all this stuff cost to set up? I think if your mindset's there, it's in the wrong spot. You want to look at saving not so much money, just time and inefficiencies, which are an indirect cost that you sometimes can't quantify. Like if an order gets missed or overcut, that happens 3 times a day. There's money there, and probably the main goal for us looking at it all was staff frustrations with current systems and current lack of communication. So I think to automate that and have everything update and change in real time has left overall staff satisfaction much higher, which was the priority.
So gone are the days with a pen and paper on the harvester, writing and crossing out, truck drivers drawing mud maps on the back of their things. So
completely.
Let's come full circle. What happens now when Mrs. Jones rings up and orders 30 metres of Sawalta down there?
Hopefully Mrs. Jones doesn't ring up. She goes online because she can do that 24/7, and our new website will be out in another month or so, which will further improve what we do. So back on that online side of thing, for a turf business, we sell between 8 to 12% of our turf 100% online. So from a phone call point of view, we had a problem with our office staff getting bogged down in calls just being order takers. When that's not, they're so well trained and so knowledgeable in their product. We much rather them spend any of us spend 10, 15 minutes on a phone call asking questions a computer can't, than just order online. So you order online, you pick your day, you get a text to say it's coming. That order goes automatically into the system. no buttons pressed. It goes into iPads or tablets we have in the harvesters, and that shows up that Mrs. Jones wants 30 square metres of turf going to Berry tomorrow on our push-off pallets or plain pallets for different yard deliveries. Scott's sitting in the harvester. He presses cut. He says how many rolls he's wasted, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, which helps us track our yield and which paddock it comes from. That gets updated in real time, so the office knows at 9:57 a.m. Scott cut that 30 metres of turf for Mrs. Jones from our creek paddock through out 2 rolls, and it's ready to go. That's already allocated in a truck. You come down in a truck to load up for the next day, and you look at your phone, you see there's 30 metres of Sir Walter for Mrs. Jones cut in the creek paddock, so you automatically know where to drive and pick up.
Yeah, so it basically eliminates human error,
100%,
and a breakdown in communication. And so that's how it looks from the business side of things, and it's a great system you build. And I always tell everyone it's actually TurfCo who's systems-wise is up there with the best turf farms in the country, and it's a really, really good thing to see. And
thank you.
But I'm not giving you any credit. I'm giving TurfCo credit. So let's look from the consumer point of view. Like you said from the start, TurfCo's always been a retail business. Its focus is primarily on getting a happy retail customer. So what does it look like from the retail point of view? What do they see now that they never used to see when they order grass?
It's funny, a heavily domestic business, and the reason you're here is to service external customers, mostly domestic. But the main goal for us at the time, the primary focus was helping the staff out and making sure that worked. If we'd done it the other way around and had a customer focus as the primary, that wouldn't have necessarily benefited our day-to-day problems. So the secondary benefits we got after all this was a enhanced user experience we can give the customer. So they'll know which driver's coming between which time window. You get a text the day before that says, hello, Matt will be at your place between 9 and 11 with your Sir Walter order on board and everything else with it. Then when he's at his drop before you're number 2 in the delivery run, we obviously work chronologically. Is that the word?
It's quite a long one. Closest to furthest.
That one. The next day. So say if they were the second drop and Matt's had his first one a bit closer to home, when he leaves for his next one, he clicks a button and says, hello, Matt will be there in 17 minutes, gives you an accurate ETA from Google Maps. And away you go. From a driver point of view, they can click at a button before they drive, obviously, hands-free stuff and all that. Customer's number or the delivery notes might say park around the back street for this Battle Axe block, and we encourage the customers to give us that. So there's still that dual benefit of the driver knowing, hang on, I can put my truck around here, or this is where they want it. And then the other thing for the customer, getting updates in real time. Alternatively, we do about 10 to 15% of our orders some months can be pickups from our farm. We've got 8 dedicated bays. As soon as that turf's harvested, the customer gets a text message to say your turf has been cut, it's ready to pick up in bay 1 just via SMS. Here's all our safe loading instructions, make sure you cover your load, strap it down. Here's how you drive in and out of here as well. It's
a really good thing, because I know what used to happen is customers would say, hey, we'd say it's AM delivery, it's 7 to 12, that's what we're going to promise you. And they go, can you let me know when you're on the way? And drivers used to ring, the customer didn't have the number, so they didn't answer it, and they dropped turf when they didn't want. So it doesn't sound like much, but from a consumer point of view, it makes a big, big difference, I can imagine. For you.
Sure. And obviously, driving trucks myself, the headaches you get day to day, and it's probably handy me being across all parts of the business to understand them frustrations. But I used to really dig my heels in when you'd call this customer half an hour in advance. I'm like, I'm at the top of a hill with no reception. How do I know how long it's going to take to get there? So we're not going to narrow down our delivery window. We give it to customers a 2-hour one now, 2-hour blocks. We gauge that on knowledge and understanding of the area. We never want to give more than that, and we assure the customers when they ring up it's within that 2 hours. Don't ask us, you'll get a text, because so much can happen with traffic. You can get held up on a delivery because you had to go somewhere else and stuff like that. But that's 2 hours out of your day within that. You can't whinge much about that.
And savings wise, I know people think with automation it's all about having less staff, but it's not. It's about having your same staff focusing on
100%
more important tasks, and you've seen that inside.
It's funny, you get other turf farmers ring up going, what did it cost you? What's the saving? How much staff is moving this? And I said none whatsoever. Our focus was never of, I suppose, having less staff, because we never have enough with what we do. But we had a problem with staff getting bogged down with basic tasks, and you sit there going in 2021 or 2020, whenever we done a big shift in balls, like there's that much tech around.
Yeah.
Someone shouldn't be getting bogged down with basic data entry. So our staff are now a lot freer than what they were. I think in some instances, we done some calcs the other week. There was 2 to 4 hours a day in busy period we're saving of basic task for staff that are highly trained in their job, are experts in what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now they've got that time better allocated to help customers with curly questions or actual stuff that's of benefit.
Because without, obviously I was once involved there, but I haven't been for a long time on a day-to-day basis, and driving past on the last week before Christmas, and I know how busy it is. Trucks are out all day, and seeing the office empty at 5 p.m. when we used to be there till whenever, trying to get stuff sorted. So from a staff management and fatigue point of view, I guess it's gold for someone in a management position.
Absolutely, and especially when it's a Friday afternoon when most people have better things to do. You're stuck at work. But our old school way of doing trucks with spreadsheets and calendars and that would be anywhere from, it could be up to an hour and a half of an afternoon, putting them 30 or 40 jobs in.
Yeah.
Now, no matter what we do, because it's bulk imported across through a CSV file into our software, it takes 4 minutes, I think, start to finish. Yeah. It's a pretty big difference.
The most impressive thing about all this is how many big words you know now.
I know. Thesaurus before I walked in here.
I love when you're not sure about a word, you look at Mick.
Because he's got the computer. I thought he was typing in.
So we've spoken about accounting through to CRM, through to logistics. Would the next big change be farming, bringing farming into that and farming inputs?
100%.
That side of thing?
100%. I suppose back on the start thing too, we knew we grow turf at a certain speed and we do stuff a certain way.
Yep.
So we weren't going to pour resource into that because we've seen lots of easier, fast-tracked improvements on the stuff we just spoke about. But from a farming point of view, we're super excited about the next 3 to 5 years. I think it will nearly definitely result in driverless tractors being available to us. This tech's already out there now. We recently put GPS in even our mowing tractors, which lots of farmers are doing it now. And say just GPS, say if you have a 3 metre mower and a 5 metre mower and a 7 metre mower, we would mow easily faster with a smaller mower with GPS than a bigger one without.
Just because of overlapping and that sort of thing.
Overlaps and everything like that. And so people are like, oh, do your drivers go to sleep or fall off the edge in a ditch? They haven't yet. But you could have beforehand anyway, just as much. But I think anyone in the tractor now is more attentive because that's another quite a big word. Because you're not concentrating on basic steering. You're looking around, you're listening to the tractor, you're looking at the PDO, you're checking all the moving parts. So I think it'll result in much better wear, tear, care on our machinery because you're more aware of everything going on.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point. And again, a lot of people just think with automation, we're just trying to get less people. It's not true at all. We're trying to get people better tasked to do their job, better equipped to do their job.
Definitely.
And the hard thing about all this, though, is unfortunately it's hard to get people. And I think you've found that along the way over the past couple of years too. Finding staff can be hard at the moment.
Big time. We're really lucky that there's obviously still a heavy family involvement from us and cousins and stuff like that. And everyone's always treated as an extended family within your business. So we do have a really, really good crew. Have been shy of staff with everything the last few years. But back to that driverless tractor stuff, if we keep touching on that. In our office, when I said we wanted to free up office staff from basic tasks to more highly trained tasks, turf farmers always have a problem of not walking their paddocks, being as involved as they can from a close-up point of view. So mowing, for example, be careful how I word this. You don't have to concentrate a hell of a lot, especially when you've got GPS.
It's a monotonous task.
It is. Yeah. Especially with GPS, you are in a steering wheel attendant, for a lack of better terms, for the most part, which is a common joke on the farm anyway. So it won't mean we get rid of staff, say if driverless stuff comes in tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have our highly trained, skillful staff that don't have to be a steering wheel attendant for 45 hours a week. They can go out, walk the grass, look at stuff that's actually problematic that needs hand-on fixing. I don't think automation will be there for all of our business, especially harvesting, because Green Life product can be so unpredictable and tricky. Same with spraying. You want to watch bumps and dips on the farm and things like that. But definitely for more monotony, I can't even say that big
monotonous. Thanks, Vic.
Repeated task. I think automation will lend a hand to helping us a big way with getting trained stuff doing trained things.
Mowing will be the first one to go.
For sure.
Yeah. We're already starting to see that residentially. Like I reckon I know more about them than you, but you reckon
That's
you
a
know more
lot.
about than me. But robotic mowers residentially now are getting pretty common. I know Berry's not a big town, and there's probably 10 of them in Berry.
I think within the 2 roads around us, I've seen a new one today up Strongs Road, which is around the corner from us. There'd be 20 to 30, I reckon, going around. The 2 at my place, you've got some as well, and that RTK, GNSS, GPS stuff. The good thing about that is a lot of the stuff in robotic mowers, we do sell some as well. If you want one, ring TurfCo.
Nice.
Is similar setup to what tractors actually have with GPS. And I think autonomy from that side of things will just build on top of it already.
Yeah.
And we've had a few problems with our GPS, which is half for our fault with installation. But we've got a really good grip on that now. So I think a lot of our staff that were one time just bull-fed tractor drivers, I can say that because I am one, we're now indirectly up to speed on GPS and that sort of tech. So as it all progresses and moves in the next few years, I think we're really well equipped, or if anything, a step ahead on that, and already got a good understanding.
Oh, that's good. And just moving away from, I guess, the innovation in systems and inside the office, let's talk turf products for a second, or turf varieties. So when you first started here, it would have been just Sir Walter and Kike.
Yeah, tiny bit of fescue, but I'm glad that tiny bit went.
Tiny bit's gone. So what changes do you see with these new varieties, both on the production point of view, we'll start production point of view, and then we'll work on what you see from the benefits to the consumer?
I think when running a business, especially turf farm, the scariest thing or the biggest risk isn't the money you talk about, technologies and systems and all that. It's what products you have and which paddocks are in which part of the farm. We're quite restricted here with available land, especially with water on it. And we got some few land shifts due to different land changing and stuff like that. And you've got to preempt what you're going to sell 1 or 2 years before it's there, because you've got to get rid of what's there. You've got to turn it over. You've got to plant it.
Yeah.
Grass isn't growing today. If it was, we'd either be driving better cars or there wouldn't be a turf farm. So especially these new varieties, we sort of, Australis more importantly, because it's the freshest one around, we put a hectare in, and I've already got plans, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we'll put another 1.5 hectares, then another 2 in after that. And from our point of view, the easiest changeover we can do is, because we're 50% Kike, 50% Sir Walter, probably 48% Kai and 2% fescue before. I'm doing a lot of our swap overs, retiring old Kikuyu paddocks, because I know for a fact tomorrow, whatever we put in, they're improved and better than what's available with Kikuyu.
Yeah.
See, Sir Wild, a lot of these, the 3 newer grasses, which is Sir Grange, Tiff Tough and Australis, do you want me to plug them as I talk?
There's fine, just keep talking.
I already know the benefits for them are bigger than anything Kikuyu has to offer, but not necessarily with Sir Walter. Sir Walter still has lots of benefit in the domestic backyard area. So I'll be conscious not ripping Sir Walter paddocks out. So a lot of our stuff with their newer varieties has been retiring Kikuyu paddocks, which means we're selling less and less Kikuyu and more of the newer varieties. But from our point of view, from a business point of view, it's great with the newer varieties and Kikuyu. But from a customer satisfaction point of view, it's at an all-time high, because we're actively looking at improving their backyards, not doing the same thing everyone else is.
And you can dial down a lot more now about what grass actually really suits that customer. Like before, you got shade, it was Sir Walter, or your full sun, you don't mind mowing, it's Kike. But now we can really, they're niche products in a lot of ways. You can say, oh, you've got this, this, and this. Hey, Sir Grange is the best suited to you. Or, oh, you got a little bit more sun, you got kids, pets, whatever, Tiff Tough. Now we've got Australis and Sir Walter. We can give customers really dialed down options, and I think that results in a much happier customer.
Definitely. It's good and bad sometimes if the information isn't portrayed properly, because they might get the wrong grass to their backyard. That's why I suppose online presence, we try and do what we can, explain the differences, and then staff, whether it's truck drivers or tractor driver you're seeing getting a sausage roll down the street, or the girls in the office, we want to make sure everyone's up on the same speed with promoting the right products to the right places, because if you're just selling stuff because it's dearer over Kikuyu, it's not going to end well. We just make sure the right stuff's going where it should.
Yeah. No, well, there's a lot of changes going on, both inside the office and on the farm, and with products and that sort of thing. But exciting changes. So what do you sort of see the future for TurfCo over the next sort of 3 to 5 years? Do you have any particular goals in mind? Do you have a particular market you really want to target? Do you want to go more into sports? Or what's your sort of vision for the future without...
I think in terms of growth and what we sell and distribute, I don't think I see that changing a great deal getting higher. I think we service our customers pretty well at the moment, and our existing area we cover is quite good. We're not going to be able to get an extra 100 acres tomorrow and stuff like that. I think it's improving what we got. I see, say 5 years ago, Kaikiu was 48% of what we sell. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we'd have a plan of that being less than 20% of what we do.
Okay.
I think it could even get lower. We're going to really, I suppose, push hard on that because that's been around forever and people know what it is. The stuff that the newer grasses, more notably them 3 I touched on, are offering so much better things than what we have in a traditionally Kaikiu market.
Yeah.
And not everyone else grows these grasses right here. So that's a point of difference for us. I think from autonomy, we're pretty happy where we are, but I think a big shift for us in a few years will be that driverless tractor scene.
Yep.
And really touching more on that. The robotic mowers we sell and stuff like that, we only sell that to complement our product. We never want to be a mower shop, but it's really nice to try and offer that, I suppose, full package to the end user.
Yeah.
We won't rip up and redo your lawn for you. We've got a really good customer base that will do that for us through landscapers.
Yeah.
We'll drop it off. We can have something to mow it for you. Back on the online point of view, a goal of us in the next few years, next 1 to 2 is have a third of our business completely online. Sales-wise, a big drive for that. It's going to be with the trade and landscaper base. And the reason we want to push hard for everything online isn't so much to take away from our face-to-face and rapport we build on phone. It's just back to that, don't want to be order takers. We want to open up 24/7 for people. People are busy now. They do stuff late at night. Not only that, it's really easy to get a 36 and a 46 of a street mixed up on the phone and stuff like that. That human error side of it, which most of the time it's not anyone's fault, but back into that creates a problem with the driver, office staff. I think you find addresses and a bit of miscommunication stuff happens a lot on the phone, but at least you get online, even if it's just via email, you get a really clear-cut audit trail to try and fault find what went wrong and fix it.
It's not your fault.
It's important to know how to fix it.
And just with I have this said to me a lot, like with the trade and landscapers ordering online, a lot of people sort of say, hey, no, that negates the need for me to go and see them, but it doesn't. A lot of sole traders out of landscapers, they're on the tools all day. The only time they get to plan and quote and do that sort of stuff is night. So it makes a lot of sense when they can order their tools. Yeah,
and our focus is just adding to the toolkit of our superstar sales manager, Julie, who has such a good relationship with all of our tradies. Punching customers in the arm probably isn't well received by many, but it really works well here when she's stirring them up, or they're doing vice versa. This is going to only enhance what a good job she already does, because customers can do stuff all the time, 24/7. Also, she's able to see what movements are going on there. They don't have to ring up and say, do you have availability in your truck tomorrow? They can look on the phone straight away and say, good, I can get it on Wednesday down the coast.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's a credit to you, the change you've. I mean, I don't like saying this, but it's a credit to you, the change you brought into TurfCo. It's made a massive difference. It's a very efficient business, and it always was, but it's even more efficient now. Customers are really, really happy. You don't have to look too far into to see that. It's a great local brand.
Thank you.
But just as we're finishing up, moving away from work, I ask people this a little bit. What keeps you busy outside of work? I know you're quite a busy person with what's going on, but what do you do outside of work? What keeps you entertained?
Children. I've got 4 coming soon, under 5, which will keep my wife a little bit busier than me because I'm not home as much, but probably not as much time for free stuff as what we used to have. We touched on boats before, which hasn't been as prevalent recently, but do a little bit with the local football club, as you do as well. I coach reserve grade. That's probably a fair stretch of the word, but it's a great place to drink beer and be social and run a little bit.
That's good. So family, kids, footy, and I guess with boat, where you're going, that is we're pretty much waiting for someone to buy us a new boat altogether.
Yeah, exactly. It won't be us.
Cool. I know you didn't want to do this, but I think it's been really good. It's been a great insight into you, into TurfCo, and into changes that are a necessity now pretty much in our industry and in a lot of businesses. So thank you for sharing. I'm sure it's going to be a great episode. So appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Do I have to say more than
No, that's fine.